You're a fraud.
You're a liberal hack.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the first episode of The Hack and the Fraud. My name is Ryan. I am joined by Nick.
G'day.
And today we are going to be talking about, for our first movie, The Dry, which is a 2020 Australian mystery drama thriller film directed by Robert Connolly from a screenplay by Connolly and Harry Cripps. The movie stars Eric Bana, Genevieve O'Reilly, Keir O'Donnell, and John Paulson. The film is based on the book of the same name by Jane Harper, and apparently it is currently the 5th highest grossing film of 2021.
When you've been lying about something for so long, it becomes second nature.
Aaron, you need to be here for the funeral. We're expecting you.
All right, Nicholas, we just watched The Dry, and we haven't spoken about it at all since we saw it. So why don't we dive right in? Give me your first impressions.
Yes, we watched it about 20 minutes ago, and we've been sort of under embargo. What we're allowed to say.
That's right.
Look, my immediate reactions were just very good. So I'm thinking,
Very good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So I thought it was a bit long. It was 2 hours, and I felt there were scenes that could have been cut to make it an hour 45 of just a really clean cut movie, but I didn't mind that so much. I just thought it just hit the emotional kind of scale really well, and the performances were fantastic. And there's nothing better than bleak Australian cinema. It's the best. Just bleak topics.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was bleak. I like that it was set around sort of the concept of the drought. It being called The Dry, that's where that comes from. Look, it does have a lot of emotionally resonant moments. It is certainly bleak in a lot of ways. I feel like it had a lot of threads which it just let go at certain points. And I feel like the central thematic element, which I feel was lies are bad, was kind of abandoned in the sense that the historical... Now, we won't get into spoilers just yet, but there is, in the main character, Eric Bana's past, there is, a question about what happened there, and lies surrounding... it's in the trailers. Lies surrounding a murder or the death of a young girl in his past. And I feel like it didn't really do anything with that central theme of the movie, which was that lies are bad, I suppose, and the cost of lies and what that means in the long term.
So you thought it didn't have like a sort of a resolution with with coming to terms with the lies that you've sort of said in the past.
All right, we're going to get into spoilers right away, everybody. So I felt that it abandoned that story, because there's the two, just wrapping up the plot, there's the two stories that are going concurrently. There's the story from 1991, which is Eric Bana, his mate, and two girls when they're young. And then the investigation of the death of his friend, the guy, and his family in the current era. Those are going along side by side. And I felt that the ending has a twist, which kind of, I felt, made the rest of the story from the past kind of irrelevant in a way. What did you think?
Yeah, I get what you mean. So essentially the twist being that it didn't matter what their sort of immediate kind of, response was to... It's hard to explain really, kind of like vaguely.
Because it is quite a complex movie. There's lots of there are quite a few twists throughout the movie. And even in the last 10 minutes, once I thought the movie was settling down, they kind of had another twist as well. And that was, I think, a negative of the movie, that it tried to do too many things and tried to be too, keep you guessing. But in a way that kind of made the central themes of the movie, I feel like they weren't brought to any sort of resolution in the end.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there was a sort of an emotional resolution for sure. There's like a cathartic kind of, Eric Bana's character was able to finally figure out what exactly happened. I think the place that the lies, the lies told in the past, and like in the current investigation, basically, it didn't allow the investigation to take place, and didn't allow, and basically it hindered all the characters because they sort of were, working together to try to like muddy the truth, and that sort of worked against them in the end. And I think there's no resolution for that. Yeah, I get what you mean. There's no, they didn't kind of think, oh god, lies are bad. But I don't know if the movie really needs to sort of, hold your hand there and say lies are bad. I think we kind of all inherently know that lies are bad. But I guess I liked it for just how kind of real the performances were.
Yeah, well, I thought the performances were great. I assume Genevieve O'Reilly plays the sort of love interest in the modern era, Gretchen. Thought she was great. Eric Bana was obviously good. I liked the cop. So basically the story is Eric Bana is a federal agent who comes back to his hometown to investigate, or like to go to the funeral of his dead best friend who allegedly killed himself and killed his family. And that's kind of the start of the movie. And everybody thinks that Luke, his friend, did a murder-suicide. And a lot of the town thinks Eric Bana killed his friend, the girl, back in the day. Now, I liked the premise of the movie. I thought the movie was going to go in the direction of, like, with the drought and everybody... Because in Australia, domestic violence in the country, I thought it was kind of going into that route, like the cost of living in these conditions, tying into the Australiana, like, being beholden to the environment. Look, first up, I love the Australian scenery. I thought one of the very strong points was the cinematography of the movie. A lot of sort of really nice shots throughout the movie. But I think because it is kind of one of those whodunit, kind of lots of different twists and turns throughout the movie, that I never really settled into it. Because I was thinking it was going to be one thing, but it ended up being another thing. And my general kind of vibe throughout the movie was of... I know it's a thriller and it's a mystery and you're supposed to be kept guessing, but none of the threads could really take off because they kept turning. And then it ended up being some random side character kind of was the killer.
Yeah, no, I get that. So the character who was probably the least interesting too
was the killer. Yeah, that's right.
And as soon as he sort of was involved in the story where he went to his house, I sort of didn't like that scene at all, but then it obviously turned out to be very important. So that was, obviously, like a bit of a shortcoming for the film, and probably made you think, I can't be that guy, he's too boring.
He's just sort of a really boring character, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
And he ended up being
his wife's kind of boring too.
I know, yeah.
She came in and then it was just like, it felt kind of off-putting when she was on screen and talking about the last message that
I actually hated that scene as well. Yeah, sorry, I remember which one you're talking about now. Where so Aaron, the main character, comes into this guy's home and he's investigating the death of this woman and a kid and a husband, and she comes in with a telephone and plays the last message that she sent her, which was just like, my son can't come over to play today because he's been a bit sick or whatever. And then she puts the phone down and she goes, I just wanted you to know that she was a real person. And it's like, Eric Bana has not he's not been like that at all, where in the entire movie he's been quite empathetic and thoughtful and like...
I feel like...
I don't understand that scene at all. That was one of my problems with the movie, is I didn't like a lot of the dialogue.
So that was an outstanding piece for me. I thought the rest of it I had no issue with, honestly. Like, that sort of felt like a trailer spot, whereas it's like, I just wanted you to know this is a real person. Eric Bana must, that's ties into the trailer. And I think it was like an hour in or an hour and 20 minutes in. We're like, we kind of know all this already, so that's...
Yeah, it was like a trailer scene to make it seem like, so if you're watching the trailer, it seems like, oh wow, maybe he's going to, but no.
There were a couple of scenes where it just felt like it was padding or just sort of like delaying. There was a sort of certain point where we were sort of getting closer to the truth with the current investigation and the previous investigation from, I think you said 1991.
Yeah. That was when she died.
Like, we were sort of like on the edge. Well, I was on the edge of my seat, kind of waiting, and I think there was just a bit too long of a wait between that point and then the final kind of the resolution, like
the revelation,
and that's what happened.
Yeah, so to get into real spoilers, the revelation was because the whole town thinks that Eric Bana killed his girlfriend essentially back in the day, but what it was that her old man had been raping her And when she was maybe going to go commit suicide, I think.
No,
Was she running away?
She was going to run away.
She was running away. Well, when she put her bag down, I thought that she was going to, or was she going to meet?
What I feel is she put her bag down and then she was going to go meet Eric Banner's younger self.
Yeah.
Also, just a side note, the younger selves were certainly way too attractive to be from a small
Yeah, I know, right?
country town. Like, they had ripped bods.
I know. I thought that too. I thought I was
just
the only
like-
one who would think that. I was like jealous of these like
They're- they're,
17-year-old actors.
Properly, like,
Proper
good
ripped.
looking. For 91 too, like, come on.
Yeah,
As
before
if
kids were
anyone-
like these days, maybe, right? Yeah. And also, they kept establishing that Luke was a major prick. Like there was a scene where he was holding Ellie down underwater, like trying to drown her as a joke.
Yeah.
And to imply that Luke maybe killed Ellie back then and thus would have the capacity to kill his wife and kids now in the future. And there was lots of that, but it just turns out he was just a bit of an asshole. Like, even though he kind of tried to murder her as a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I thought my original guess as to, and it's basically everyone's guess during the movie, is that perhaps Luke didn't kill himself and his family, but maybe he has this past history with killing this person accidentally, and then being a dumb kid, he just sort of wanted it to go away, and that's sort of central theme for the whole town is like that.
Yeah, just wanting it to go away, not
everything
dealing with the truth.
not dealing with it, or just which I thought would have made a bit more sense. And
I like the idea of not dealing with the truth.
yeah.
But then in the end, the only bit about not dealing with the truth was that Ellie, the girl who died, her father murdered her and didn't tell anybody that. And thus other people's lives were ruined. But I feel like the main thing that he did that was bad was the murder, not the lie, right? The lie didn't really feel relevant, and which is why I felt like the central theme of the lying didn't really land for me. Because, where was the actual resolution or the... what were they saying with the lies? Because there were no lies in the movie that really mattered apart from the father lying about the murder and then affecting other people's lives.
Well, no, I think the fact that he said he was off shooting rabbits and the whole town didn't buy that because that was a lie. Because he didn't want to tell the truth that he was actually waiting at the lake for this girl who then happened to be murdered, because that put him in a really sort of delicate situation, in which anyway no one bought, and so everyone just sort of thought, no, you're lying, you obviously killed her. And he's a dumb kid, and I thought that scene where his friend comes, Luke, and says, this is what happened, say you were with me, made sense from a kid's point of view, because you think, oh my god, I'm going to be in so much trouble. I might as well say this is where I was, and then absolutely commit to it.
Yeah.
And that was a lie. And that's
I actually like the scene with his father when they're in the car and the father asks, like, I'm going to ask you once, were you involved at all with Ellie's murder? And Eric Banner's character obviously goes, no, Dad, how could you ask that of me? And then the dad asks, were you with Luke? And then, so the dad believes the first bit because it's the truth. He does believe that his son wasn't there, but then he asks, were you with Luke? And he lies and says he was, but the father is able to tell that that's a lie, and thus, even though he was so sure that his son was telling the truth a moment earlier, because he then subsequently lied, he then kind of distrusts his son again. I like that. So I guess, look, it's a good idea. Again, like, there's so many good ideas in the movie.
Yeah.
Like, in the idea of the drought came up like 2 or 3 times in the movie. And I thought that was going to be more of a metaphor, kind of like, the longer you go without water, the more the town and the people slowly start dying, right? It's like kind of a cancer, which is similar to the lie. Like, the longer you go without the truth, the more everything kind of dies.
I wonder if that, like, we both haven't read the book. Now,
No.
I wonder if that's really explored in the book a lot more compared to the movie. And maybe sometimes with a book translating to, the medium of film, it can get lost in translation a bit, or it's just implied. And so maybe the director's like, yeah, I got it. But maybe, we sort of didn't get that. That's exactly what they were trying to go for. And instead it just felt the drought, the dry, oh, now we're going to have a big fire on our hands.
Yeah, no, actually, I hated that.
I know.
I hated
it's too
the
dry.
So the ending scene is like the teacher who had killed the family. Eric Banner and the cop from the town, they go to the school to go and arrest him or go talk to him or whatever, and he sees them coming, so he runs away into the forest near the school, which is just like a very dry bush. And because of the drought, it's been really, really dry. And then he has an oil can and a lighter, and he's going to set himself on fire and burn down the forest. And then Eric Bana and the cop are like, "No, don't burn it. You'll burn down the forest, and then it'll burn down the school." There's no way. I mean, the school is like 500 meters away. If a fire started, the children would just leave. And Eric Bana's like, "Come on, mate. There's children there. You don't want to hurt them." I don't understand that at all. That kind of, and again, because it's towards the end of the movie, that's what I left the movie feeling. Well, that was silly.
Yeah. And then, like, it's just sort of, I think they repeat that way too many times. Like, "Oh, Eric, you saved
It's
the whole
bone
town
dry."
because it's bone bloody dry."
Yeah, that's right.
That fire would have taken out half the town, and there's kids in that town.
Yeah, that's right. There's no way they could have got away. The fire would have spread too quickly throughout the whole town, just burning people. Oh no, it's coming.
There's no water
way-
to put it out, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's I'm kind of getting talked into not liking the film.
No, I gave it. Look, it's like a 7 out of 10. That was where
I'm
I
a liar. I think I'm 8, and I think I'm 8 because I think I was emotionally attached to the film, and this is again based on the performances. I think I can really salvage a film and just make you sort of just really immersed in it, and also just care about the characters, like all the characters except for the boring one.
I believed Eric Bana, but I kind of thought his character was boring as well. He didn't have much emotion to show throughout the movie.
No, I thought he was. I thought that was a decent amount. I thought he was sort of pleasant to people, but he also had.
That's what you want from a main character.
No,
he was pleasant to people.
No, I thought he was realistic. He's coming back to a town where he obviously doesn't feel welcome, and so he's on edge a bit, and he's a bit standoffish. So I felt that performance was a realistic.
Well, he was keeping his emotions within. Well, I mean, I did like that scene where he's in the bathroom and he lets out a guttural roar because he's just like so upset about a thing.
You don't need to have that from. Sometimes it's the stuff that he doesn't say. It's the stuff that he doesn't do. It's the same thing with Manchester by the Sea, as you know.
Yeah,
we both
we
love.
love.
It's all the context or the
That's
subcontext.
First recommendation of the pod, Manchester by the Sea.
Big bloody time. Performance of the century.
Performance of the century.
So far,
yeah.
No, well, that's a bit because there's Daniel Day-Lewis too. Performance of
but Daniel
the
Day-Lewis
last 10 years
is great. I mean, let's not like shit on Daniel Day-Lewis. He's awesome, right? But I mean, what's he done this century? Like, I mean, he's done most of them. A lot of them.
No. Well, my favorite one that he's done is There Will Be Blood. I think that's his best one. That was from more than 10 years ago. I'm pretty sure. Maybe it's not.
It was, it was. When was There Will Be
And where is the butcher? The Butcher of New York.
I'm going to be honest. I haven't seen the Gangs of New York yet. Gangs of New York.
That's why I'm the movie guy.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of movies you haven't seen.
No,
Name one. Name one movie I
haven't seen.
Yeah, well, you got the one I haven't seen. I've seen all the rest of them.
Anyway, back to this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sit on an 8, and the more I think about it, the more I kind of think, oh. But I'm thinking of it positively too. It's just I feel like I need some inspiration here because I'm not doing it justice.
Okay, here's why I've given it such a high rating as well of 7 out of 10.
Good, yeah.
Because it's an Australian film, and I compare it to any film that I would make, and I'm like, most movies you watch, you're like, that's Hollywood, hundreds of millions of dollars, the best of the best. The movie's perfect almost. Like, the production is perfect, There's no mistakes necessarily. And so I'm comparing it to almost amateur films. And in that context, pretty great. But I mean, this is such a nitpick, but it was something that bothered me at the start of the movie. At the funeral, there was a scene where Gretchen, one of the 4 friends from the past, and Eric Bana first meet each other. And in the background, there's extras like walking past. And then in each cut in between those 2 actors, they kind of like messed up the timing of the extras walking in the background.
That is a nitpick.
It's not. I mean, but it just made me go like. I mean, it's less of a professional production than I would maybe hope for. I mean, it was great. No, it was great. I mean, that's not a criticism of the movie necessarily. Yeah. That in itself is not a criticism. It's an example of maybe some of the missteps of the movie. I don't know who directed. The director was director?
So
Robert Connolly.
Guy named Robert Connolly. He's done films, The Slap and Ballabo. They're the only other 2 films I've seen by him. But I love them both.
So
he's got good history with emotional dramas, and I think that's probably what resonated with me was
He nailed the emotional
scenes. I think it's like almost that's it's like 8 out of 10. It's like an easy 8 out of 10 if you can, like absolutely smash that emotional button.
Yeah,
right?
sure. Because I mean that's what I want in cinema.
Yeah.
Something that affects me, that I feel it. You know, like. But the other element that I like is so it has to make you feel something, which is, that's no easy task really, to make you genuinely feel something, and also to be something that I haven't really seen before. And I felt like there was nothing in this movie that I went like, oh wow, I haven't really seen that before. It was emotionally satisfying, but a bit by the numbers as well.
But I mean, what do you get really? Like, you can always take something that you haven't seen before back to another film. You're like, oh, this is where they did it and they experimented. I think that's a bit of a hard ass to not have seen something before.
Well, I mean, that's what separates a good movie from a great movie. I think
that's where you get
unique.
the boring guy being the murderer, because it's like, oh, let's give him something they haven't seen before. Sometimes you can stick within a cliche and it can just be a really strong, like, if it was Luke had accidentally killed Ellie and just wanted to run away from that lie, and then he had been killed later on by the family. I mean, that's a simple solution, but that also kind of makes the most amount of sense and fits in with the whole.
Yeah, true. I kind of wanted it to be that, even though that's the most boring.
I think it's not the most boring answer, but it's the one that everyone's kind of thinking: is it or is it not? Is it not? But it's like everyone's kind of like, yeah, I thought it was something like that. I thought Luke was the murderer.
So I feel like, that... okay, so all right, I think I might have just figured out part of my problem with the movie is that it wants you to think Luke is the murderer. It keeps giving you extra scenes that make you think Luke is the murderer. Like when Ellie's supposed to come to the river and Eric Bana sees somebody in the background and he's like, Ellie, is that you? And it's implied that it's Luke, but it's not Luke. Or the scene where Luke is... the scene where Luke is, what's he doing? Holding her underwater, makes you think he's the murderer. Stuff like that. But then he's not actually the murderer. So, like, I mean, those scenes felt to me like movie scenes. They didn't feel like real life scenes. It didn't, because, like, that's what we want from a movie. It just feels like real life. It just feels like you don't want to be reminded you're in a movie. And those little tricks to make you think Luke is the murderer and then he's not, they always kind of annoy me in these sort of movies where they want you to think that the movie's smart, right? But what they're doing is they're misleading you intentionally in a way that is, I don't know, just it feels cheap because they're giving you a cheap scene.
They're sort of doctoring the facts to make it look like something's happened. So you're sort of seeing like a half truth, or you're just not even seeing that. If you're seeing someone who you think's Luke, I don't know.
It's kind of like, actually, I watched the first scene. I stopped watching it because I started watching The Usual Suspects for the first time, and then I was kind of annoyed at it in the first scene. I looked up, it was Bryan Singer, and I had just watched Bohemian Rhapsody, which is one of my most hated movies of all time, by the way. And I just felt like I didn't want to watch it, so I didn't actually get far in it. But they did a similar thing with Kevin's. Spoilers for The Usual Suspects. I know that Kaiser Soze is Kevin Spacey, but they hide. Is that right? You're looking at me. Yeah. They hide his face and everything, and he kind of does like a different voice, so that you can't. But like the character is there. Like the character. Kevin Spacey's Kaiser Soze is there, but they just deliberately hide him from you.
Yeah, but you're taking away. It's like saying the same thing about The Sixth Sense, saying if Bruce Willis could just stop acting like a normal person and act like the ghost he was, I wouldn't have been confused. I feel like that's the whole point of Usual Suspects, is that it's like a big sort of, oh my god, I've been looking at Kamiyashi.
With The Sixth Sense, I feel like they followed Bruce Willis's character the entire time. They showed you everything that was there, and then through the course of that, you find out, oh shit, he's a ghost. But in these sort of movies, they're like deliberately kind of keeping things from you that are there, that they could show you, but they just don't, which is just reminds you that it's a movie rather than actually having like a clever kind of thing that if you have all the information and you still can't figure out the answer. I like that. But when they're just deliberately hiding information that's right there, that kind of annoys me. I don't know if that's probably just me.
No, I think that is just you. I gotta say that's an unfair comparison. Like, because what we just witnessed in The Dry, which I do somewhat understand and agree with you, and what you have in The Usual Suspects. Had you not known that Bryan Singer was the director, you wouldn't be saying this right now. You'd just be like, God, it's a great film. Kevin Spacey is a terrible person.
I
What
like
do you mean
that.
you should watch it? You
I
see, you
should
haven't even
it.
watched it.
I watched the first 5 minutes. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
you got to
yeah.
watch the whole thing. You can't have an opinion and watch it
Well,
after
the
5
problem
minutes.
is also that I know that Kaiser Soze is Kevin Spacey. Like, I already know.
How do you know that?
Because the fucking world told me.
Exactly. You know it only because of that. And that's not a fair
There's no point
comparison.
in watching The Usual Suspects now, right? I already know the answer. Why would I watch it?
Because it's still a really good film.
Is it still really
I've,
good?
I've watched it more than twice, which means that I knew what was going to happen.
But you're remembering when you found out the first time.
I still watch The Sixth Sense again. I don't. It doesn't live or die by the twist ending. It's still a good film outside of that.
The Usual Suspects is still a good film outside of that?
Outside of that,
You're recommending it?
Of course, and
Well,
Sixth
because
Sense,
that's,
both
I
of
mean,
them.
when
Yeah,
I go through Bryan Singer's filmography, there's not really that many standouts. X-Men 1 and 2.
I agree. No,
Okay,
it's,
great.
it's not that good.
Can we
It's
just talk
like-
about Bohemian Rhapsody real quick? I know
I haven't seen it, but
Oh, you haven't seen it?
I've got to finish
Okay.
this point. So Bryan Singer, you can be a shit director or even just a hack director, and then
Or a fraud.
you can be a fraud director even, and you can
Hacking the Fraud. T-shirts coming out soon, guys.
caps.
Go on. Caps?
We can do caps. Yeah.
All right.
As in like
MDMA
hats.
cap. Oh, no,
Yeah,
sorry. Branded.
We're definitely not going to do that. We wouldn't do that.
We wouldn't do that.
Maybe we will. Maybe episode 2. Hey, look, Brian, you can just accidentally make a great film. So you
can
remember
accidentally-
Paul?
yeah, you can.
What's a bad Paul Anderson? There's Paul T.
Oh,
Anderson.
Paul W.S. Anderson.
Paul W.S. Anderson's
Underworld
a
guy.
really bad director. Right?
Has he ever made a good one?
He has. There was one called it's like the Gates of Hell one. It's in space.
Oh, did he? With Sam Neill? Yeah, Event Horizon.
Event Horizon, which is a really good film.
We both love Event Horizon. I haven't watched
It's
it in a
really
while,
good. It
but
can
it's
happen.
awesome.
It
Yeah,
exists,
okay.
you know. And same with Bryan Singer. X-Men 1 and 2.
I'm just
they're
looking
okay.
up Paul W.S. See, I'm the Jamie. You have Joe Rogan. I'm the young Jamie of the podcast
Jamie-
as well. I'm a host and a young Jamie. Oh yeah, his
I'm
Resident Evil, Alien vs Predator,
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat,
Trash.
yeah, and then Event Horizon, which is
Great.
awesome. Yeah.
Classic film.
Yeah, okay. I mean, you can
Sam
accidentally
Neill.
make a good movie.
Peak Sam Neill.
Oh, he directed Pompeii. Oh, poor
Jon
Jon Snow. Yeah, Kit Harington. That's it.
He'd be so good if he
Same
could
with
act.
Amelia Harrington. I just knew
Actually-
that both of them were going to be terrible after Game of Thrones. I knew that.
Yeah, Amelia Clarke. But she's trying. I feel like she's trying.
So is Kit Harington.
Not
He's
as
not
hard.
good doesn't mean he's not trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, The Dry. That's the movie that we came to talk about.
What were we going to say something after? And you wanted to talk about Bohemian Rhapsody, and
yeah.
I honestly think
It's
this
one of
is
the worst
exactly-
movies of all time,
I reckon
honestly.
I'm going to think the exact same thing
Good,
watching
yeah.
it too. Because
I gave it a 2 out of 10.
oh good.
And that was
I kind of
like
want to hate it.
generous because there were like a couple of good scenes and the rest was just like absolute dog shit. Like I can't even describe how bad it is because the only artistic merit of the whole movie is the Queen songs, and then the live performances are terrible because it's essentially just like playing the Queen song and lip syncing along to it. Like Star Is Born had far better live music scenes, and that was again the only good bit of
I agree.
Star
Star
Is
Is
Born.
Born was basically saved by its numbers.
Yeah, 100%. God, that was such a silly movie. I remember I was halfway through A Star Is Born when they were getting married and Dave Chappelle was in it. And I was like, oh, this is the ending. Great. Like, they've been through some trials. Kind of a happy... No, we're fucking halfway through the movie. I had to sit through another hour and a half of that shit. I didn't feel that way about The Dry. So, I mean, that's a positive. I mean, The Dry was
positive,
good, and I really do want to support Australian films. That's kind of like... I wanted it to be great, and it was pretty good.
My 8 is not based on this. Like
We have
wanting
different,
Australian-
like your 8 is different from my 8.
My 8's a good 8. My 8's a good 8 because you sort of have to work for that 8.
Yeah.
But I just think, guys, actually, it's pretty hard to explain because you had some very good points, which I actually largely agree with in terms of why the film kind of couldn't be what it was, and I sort of really feel like that could be solved with just having a director's version, like a shorter version.
Yeah, I
Just-
think that would have made a difference to me as well. Cut out a few scenes, cut out a few of the different
But then you still have the
misleading
ending,
threads.
though, don't you? You still got the ending. That's not going to change. I didn't love the ending too, so
Yeah, I guess because it is. But I mean, you could just change. So, like, what I would just not have. I would probably remove the teacher altogether and just have Luke have not killed Ellie, but have killed his family just because of the drought.
what? No, I don't like that ending. I think. Oh, I mean,
But and he still finds out about Ellie and that her old man and stuff and that lie.
I'm the opposite. I want
Okay.
Luke to have killed Ellie accidentally. Like I want there to have been like a love triangle.
Yeah,
So
I
we-
thought that's what the direction. I thought, well, obviously, when he accuses Gretchen of murder, I thought there was that kind of love triangle thing, like she was
Yeah.
jealous of, you know. But then, no, because I was confused because Gretchen was clearly like in love with Luke, so I didn't understand why she would want to kill Ellie, which is what I thought maybe had happened. I thought like Gretchen had killed
No,
Ellie.
not
no,
her.
for a while I thought
Oh,
Gretchen had
as
killed
in
Ellie because she was like jealous of something, but no, she was with Luke, so that was not correct.
Yeah. The more I think about it, no, I'm going to stick with 8. Maybe I change it, but 8 just, I think, like you said, the shots,
8 feels generous. Like only 2 more
right.
points for a perfect movie.
yeah, only
It's
8
2
more, eight
points
more
out
for
of-
none. Like if I was 8 points less, that's a bad score.
God, we're good at maths.
Look, it's 8. Like I looked up IMDb.
Okay, what did the critics say?
the critics? I didn't see what the critics said.
Why did you look it up?
I know this is
What
the
did the
task.
users say?
This is the one task you gave
Yeah, I
me,
gave you one
and
job.
I didn't do it, but I saw the audience score and it was 7.7. So what? Like I'm 3.3 above the audience.
Yeah, okay.
I think what resonated with many people, I reckon, without reading too many reviews, I saw one which kind of compared it to Picnic.
I can tell you what the
in-
critics gave it. 100% of critics recommended the film
Well, there you go.
based on 12 reviews. And they had an average rating of 7.8. So, I mean, the people were
Jeez.
closer to you. So you're
Am I
definitely going
am I
along.
a critic? I guess.
I don't know. You're definitely going along with the crowd, whatever it is.
And that's me. I'm a crowd pleaser.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
I think from what I've seen, like from the reviews I've seen, I think it's sort of hit the emotional strings pretty well, and that sort of makes up for a lot of people's counts, I reckon. And I think it's just a good it's good Australian cinema, so it's not one you like feels tacky, where the performances are too Australian. I thought it was kind of a good mix of suburban, or like sort of urban and rural, like that kind of. It wasn't like, oh, good day, mate.
Yeah, I was worried it would be a bit kind of over the top. Okay, well, I mean, I just watched Wake and Fright, which is another Australian film, and I think, unfortunately, I was comparing it to that because it's similar, kind of like outback town, murder, kind of weird shit
good
going
comparison,
on.
actually, yeah.
And
Outside of
it didn't reach the heights of Wake and Fright, obviously.
But that is a classic.
That's a classic, though. So, I mean, it's not
Same
comparable.
Picnic at Hanging Rock,
Which I've actually never seen.
But that's like a lot of people compared it to those real classic Australian films. So I think
Yeah.
it's going to come up short, especially in the long run. But by no means is it like I would
It's
recommend
not its
it,
movie's
right?
fault.
Like,
Yeah, not every movie can be an Australian classic.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I do... Look, I mean, we probably need more Australian movies that are just kind of, like, not bad. Pretty good.
Yeah.
That movie's not bad. Like,
Keep it bleak. I don't care.
yeah, no, like, because the thing is...
Snowtown.
Yeah, Snowtown.
Do
Fuck,
it.
the
Snowtown
Snowtown was
2.
way too much, man.
Nah, it's so good.
It's no, I think I just watched it in the wrong headspace where, like, it's just so miserable that I couldn't enjoy it.
Nah, nonsense. Bring your kids.
Do you think that there are movies out
Family film, Snowtown. Sit down and pour yourself a glass of white, and then get the kids
there? And another
together.
glass and another glass? Fuck me.
Get a barrel ale, right?
Yeah.
Hey, a barrel.
I mean, is there such a thing as too miserable a movie?
No.
No, there's no- what about a Siberian film?
My
A Serbian
favorite
film?
films. Oh yeah, I mean we'll talk about this a bit later on. Maybe another one, but
Not Serbian
I
film.
watched A Piece of a Woman, which is just so good, and it had Ellen Burstyn.
Oh, so good, was it?
I loved it. So
Yeah, okay.
good. Ellen Burstyn.
No, I don't know her. But
No,
Shia
she was
LaBeouf
in.
it.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf's in it, and I forgot who else, but Princess Margaret from The Crown,
I haven't watched The Crown yet. Is that a recommendation as well?
big time, yeah.
Vanessa Kirby?
Vanessa Kirby.
And
So she was
Ellen
really
Burstyn.
good, and I kind of put her. I compared her performance with talking about Matches by the Sea again with Casey Affleck's kind of performance in terms
Really
of
that
dealing
good?
with grief.
Grief, yeah,
And
because
I think
it's-
she was really, really fantastic.
Because she
I'm not
loses
sure
a
if she's gonna-
child, right? During childbirth or something like
She
that.
does lose a child, and that's
Yeah.
the opening scene's just amazing.
Is it
So,
her
like,
losing the child? Is it like
it's the
birth?
it's like the play by play, as in like basically just the kind of like a one shot. It feels like, but it's just so good.
like Midsummer?
Yeah. A bit
How
like
good is
that.
Midsummer's
With the
intro
opening, how
scene?
good-
Oh,
it
that
kind of
is-
reminded me of that, just like how good the intro was.
That
compared
fucked
to
me
the
up
rest
so
of the film,
bad.
yeah.
We're going to talk about Midsummer one day.
But Ellen Burstyn's in it, who was in a film called, which is bleak as hell, but what's it called? It's Requiem for a Dream, and she won an Oscar for that.
Would you believe I've never watched Requiem?
But she's so good in that, and she kind of like reprises that performance.
I like
a
every
little bit.
movie you've said so far. I haven't seen.
Yeah, and he wants to be the movie guy.
Yeah.
Like, get this. Feel free to watch a movie. At one point,
Benny Safdie's also in Pieces of a Woman. I'm a big Safdie Brothers
yeah,
fan.
he is,
You're not a big Safdie Brothers fan, are you? You didn't like Good Time?
I haven't seen Good Time. So
Oh, no,
maybe that
but you
might
haven't
turn
seen,
around. I didn't love Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems, yeah. Movie guy doesn't like Uncut Gems. I mean, come on. Adam Sandler's best
It
role.
wasn't his best.
What was his best role in?
Punch Drunk Love? Maybe.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, you try to disagree with that one.
I love that movie. It's like a 10.
Happy Gilmore too.
All right. All right, The Dry. Well, I'm pretty happy.
Let's finish up with The Dry.
Finish with The Dry.
Go like a closing statement.
My closing statement is it's good, overly convoluted, couple too many threads. I agree with you. It could have been cut 15, 20 minutes. Cut out a few, like Grant. That whole like, oh, Grant is not the character. It's the money that they're after. They're after a financial Grant.
I didn't like that.
There was like one character called Grant who might have been a suspect.
That's probably from the book.
That's probably from the book, yeah. There's one shot there's one shot I really liked when Eric Bana is going to meet Gretchen in the field when she's shooting rabbits. And he walks past these two silos, and on the silos it says condemned in like, I don't know if it's, I mean, obviously it was intentional. I mean, they shot it that way, but he's walking through these two big silos and it just says condemned on either side. I love that shot for whatever
I could
reason.
tell you looked tickled pink as soon as
I was
it came
tickled.
up. I could tell. I was just like, oh my god, he likes this scene. And he didn't shoot the rabbit too.
He didn't shoot the rabbit.
Which is, I like that bit. It's just like, oh, she knows.
Yeah. Anyway, so I liked it. Pretty good. Probably could do with a bit of trimming, a bit of massaging, so to
Yeah,
speak. 7 out of 10 I give it. Still give it a recommendation. Check it out. Nico?
Yeah, I give it an 8 out of 10. I think we overlap on a lot of points, especially with the trimming, especially with the scenes that kind of made us cringe a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd say but I think this kind of film lives and dies by its performance and its ability to sort of. We didn't mention the score. I think the score was really good.
Yeah, actually, the score was good, yeah.
The score was
that?
great.
We'll see who the score was, because just Peter Rayburn.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Don't know who he is. Oh, he did Under the Skin. Very creepy movie. It's done quite a bit. Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom. Blue Valentine with Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams. Great film. Lars von Trier. Yeah, no, he's done a lot of good stuff. So, props to Peter Rayburn.
Yeah, it's just like an unsettling score.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, the landscape shots, brilliant. Just probably one of the best. I think it's
Cinematographer was Stefan Duccio.
Yeah, it's become such
doesn't
an
have a
art, hasn't it,
Wikipedia
recently?
page. Doesn't have a Wikipedia page. So,
No, so you just
must have just been like great work.
yeah, like Lord of the Rings in terms of just is able to use the natural landscape without having to add much to it.
I just watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy again. I mean, I watch it pretty frequently, but I just watched it again in the last couple of weeks. And the one thing that I kept going back to is like, this is all New Zealand. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a beautiful movie, and I think you appreciate those things more as you... the Dust Devils and all the some really great shots.
I don't think there was a single, or like I didn't notice a single CGI shot, and that's a big thing for me.
True.
I
I don't know if there was any. Maybe the Dust Devils were CG.
No, so essentially, just it kind of did hit hard for me. I did like the sort of overlapping investigations. Overall, obviously there were some scenes maybe I didn't like, but overall it was really good. It was sort of, especially the dialogue being played from another scene that was sort of shot with Eric Bana kind of process.
Yeah, I did like how they cut the
that.
scenes together. Like, they would flow into each other. The editing, again, really good.
So that's it. I think it hits an 8 for me. And I don't think I'll come down from that. But I do agree with a lot of the points you said. So it's kind of weird. We're sort of the same but different scores.
All right, well, that's it for episode 1 of The Hack and the Fraud. I mean, this is something we've wanted to do for a long time. So thank you, everybody who has listened into the first episode. The Dry. It's out in cinemas now. You want to check it out? We both recommend it.
2 recommends.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Hack and the Fraud.
Yeah, listen out, guys.